Good afternoon, beloved TIs. I'm in the midst of trying to get over some illness, so excuse my scratchy voice, but I'm going to do my best. I have a good presentation for you here today. As always, I would like to start the presentation out with a prayer. God, I ask that you cover the lives of all TIs around the globe. I ask that you comfort us and you guide us and you give us direction. God, we stand on your word and your promise that you are going to deliver us from these covert targeted programs and you're going to expose the players of this game. God, we claim our birthright. We claim our divine right to be free from this technology that is used against our bodies and our minds, and for us to reclaim our lives and our empowerment and our prosperity. And I ask you, God, that you seat everybody in an attendance, whether it be live in this broadcast or later on if they're reviewing it later, that you give them the tools to succeed in their health and restoration from these attacks. And I thank you, God, for covering us with your warrior angels and throughout our week ahead and always. Thank you, God. Amen. All right, let's dig into the content today. First, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a weekend review of targeted justice events. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share my screen. Okay, great. Let's go. All right. So this covers the previous week. So I ask that you refer to an article that was dated on 1/1, and it's available on Substack, and it's called, Does V2K Require a Chip in Your Brain? No. So V2K technology doesn't require a chip or integrated circuit to function. The microwave signal is demodulated by the cartilage in the bone around your brain. If you've ever used Shokz headphones, which I think you can demo those in some stores, this theory is proven, right? So shock sends the signals to the bone in your face and your skull to generate the sound. So the music and the voice signal is automatically demodulated. So by the use of these frequencies and waves, it can be beamed directly to your head along with, and it gets demodulated, and then we hear the voice to skull. Me, myself, I've had this ever since I worked for a corrupt business in 2012, and I wasn't going to drink the Kool-Aid, so I got targeted and attacked, and I got the V2K. Refer to the article also on Substack dated 12/31, New Year's resolution shut down the targeting program. Within this article, it asks that targeted individuals, that our community Right Honorable Harmit Dillon, who is the new Attorney General for Civil Rights, there is a sample letter and attachments to include in your communications to her and her staff within that article. Another article called CIA Whistleblower Directed Energy Attacks that was published on December 31st on Substack. It goes into detail about a CIA whistleblower that reveals attacks on officers injured by direct energy weapons were covered up by the presidential administration. It includes a letter from the CIA addressed to the whistleblower that confirms and acknowledges the symptoms she was experiencing were true. I have also put this same article that was written by Targeted Justice on the Chosen Heroes X page as well. And again, you can find that on Targeted Justice Substack. There is another article that was written on December 30th called Slides for Translation. Targeted Justice needs your help and assistance in translating slides that are noted in the article, along with links to the slides and presentations. We need these translated into other languages, because what this is going to do is help our campaign to spread global awareness in translating this valuable information into multiple languages. Targeted Justice is looking for someone who has graphic artist and design experience and skills. We need volunteers to help with our digital campaigns and lots of fun projects. In addition, we're looking for international podcasters. We're wanting to, extend the outreach globally. And you can email tjustice2@proton.me if you are interested. And also a reminder that Targeted Justice merchandise is available on Printify. If you haven't subscribed to the monthly newsletter, please do so if you can. If you're unable to, please just share the articles that are published by Targeted Justice out on your social media platforms. Next up, we're going to get into the presentation for today, which is titled Foods to Eat and Avoid for Healing. So how this all came about is, there is let me hit play on this. I think I can get this to go away. All right, perfect. So how all this came about is based off of my own targeting experience, and I have been 13 years into this. My targeted experience started in 2012 when I was a whistleblower of sorts in an organization that was very corrupt, and the organization was led by a billionaire with deep community ties and had a lot of strong arm in law enforcement and such. So when I started to bring this awareness out at this company is when I started to experience the gang stalking, and then it led into the directed energy attacks and torture and the voice to skull. So I'm going into 13 years of this. So this all started out when I was in my late 30s, and here I am in my early 50s. So I, over the years, continued to have, symptoms of the pain, the neuropain, and the brain impact, the brain fog, and the lack of concentration, and all of these symptoms that were in a high functioning job of being an analyst and needed to be on top of my game and see the bigger picture along with all the fine details. It was becoming very troublesome to me because my reputation is known for being, extremely accurate and detailed. And I was, researching ways that I could regain this. And knowing that I'm under, targeted attack, 24/7, I just wanted to see, where was the information? What was my body lacking? Right. So I went on this mission, last year to dip my, toe into the water and find out what was going on in my body in terms of deficiencies so that I could counter it, not only mentally in the well-being, but the physical that I was experiencing in these 13 years of buildup, right? So these tests, most of which are not covered by general insurance, these tests are more about, getting into nutrient deficiencies, heavy metals, and all kinds of toxins, which the general insurance is typically not going to cover that. And that was my experience. They did not. These tests were very expensive. So what I wanted to do is share what I learned. Now, it doesn't mean that your targeted experience, it will be in the same physical as mine, But I do think that some of this has some common thread. And when I say that when people are targeted by frequencies and, microwaves and such, of you can just know that when you microwave something in the microwave oven, it's going to deplete it of its nutrients and deficiencies, rather versus you eating it raw or steaming it or even oven baking it. So why wouldn't our bodies respond in the same way? That was my thought. And it was proven that I have a physical impact with um, malnutrition and malabsorption of nutrients, high oxidative stress, which is inflammation, mitochondria dysfunction, which is imperative for the energy production and the overall health of the cell, metabolic imbalance, digestive issues, cellular dysfunction, oxygen delivery to the organs, including the brain, absorption of those nutrients and expelling the toxins from the body. So all these toxins are, when you have mitochondrial dysfunction, your cell hardens, and the good, like the natural hormones that you produce and your nutrients and from your the hormones, from your pituitary and your thyroid gland, they can't get into a hard cell because it's just hard and it's impenetrable. So the same thing is said that all the toxins that we are subjected to, environmental, food, and such, they can't get out of the cell. So they stay trapped in there and they just continue to build up, build up, build up inside your body. So these screenshots that I have up here are actually from my test results, where it showed that I had high mycotoxins, OTA in particular, which is fungal based. Glyphosate, I had very high. That's like Roundup weed killer, because again, our food supply is inundated by these chemicals that they spray to preserve the content, preserve the food from spoiling, right? Um, I had high heavy metals, uranium, and still out to lunch on where uranium came from because it's radioactive. But could it be from some of these, signals and stuff being sent to us? Because that's very obscure to have high uranium in this day and age. And I also had a high level toxic exposure to MTBE, which is like high octane fuel. Okay. So again, which isn't readily used. I mean, they know that it is very poisonous. So that has been lessened, over the years. So again, things to think about. So the OTA in my body leads to neurotoxicity, which that's your whole nervous system and your brain, right? The oxidative stress, which is high inflammation, which is what I was experiencing, a lot of swelling and pain. Immunotoxic toxicity, meaning that it is attacking your immune system and suppressing it, so you cannot, bounce back. It is a hepatotoxicity. Okay, your blood, carcinogen. Okay, OTA. Another nephrotoxicity, along with the neuro, all brain, GI. Lots of GI issues I experienced, with bloating and digestive issues. It's even a reproductive toxin. So that destroys, fertility, right? So fertility, I'm sorry. So the summary, I just used one example, which is the OTA. There was other, toxins, but you can see in this middle image, I'm off the charts. OTA should be less than 7.5, and here I am registering at the highest level in the measurement of 28.59. So again, all coming back to that cellular inflammation and dysfunction that is going on from from everything. The third to the right, furthest to the right image is saying that in a score of 1 to 10, and 10 being the worst, I was a 9 in oxidative stress. Okay. And then I was an 8 in mitochondrial dysfunction. The inflammation support, meaning the omega imbalance, I was only a 3. And the only reason why I was a 3 is because I've been taking omega daily for years. And toxic exposure was an 8 out of 10, and methylation imbalance an 8 out of 10. So again, I'm just saying this. Everybody's experience can be different. Your genetics are involved in that as well. In my own testing, there was some mutated DNA markers within me as well. So again, I was on a quest. What could I do? What could I do to, help my body in this state? And what I found is one of the greatest resources that we can aid our bodies in as a targeted individual is food, and what you choose to eat and what you should avoid. So in this episode, you're going to learn which foods promote brain health and healing. You're going to learn which foods to eliminate and avoid that have an adverse impact to the brain and the body. And you're going to learn which foods are best for the brain, chronic pain, inflammation, and autoimmune disorders. And I love this quote from Hippocrates, let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. So food is a medicine. So what we eat has a profound impact on our health and our mental well-being. Dietary habits influence risk or offer therapeutic and productive qualities. Some foods lead to and escalate chronic health conditions. And this is the gist of this episode is let's get a grip on this. If you're not having certain symptoms, you can proactively change the way that you eat to counter what could be potentially ahead, especially knowing that you're under attack. And as I said, food can influence and alter your mental well-being. And a healthy diet can help with neuropathy by reducing inflammation, improving gastrointestinal symptoms, and correcting your nutrient deficiencies. So food in the brain. So I went on a research like, okay, what are the nutritional components and contents of a human brain? So I did find out that the brain is our most powerful organ, and it consumes 20% of our energy resources. That is a lot. So the nutritional content and makeup of a brain is, number one, is fats and lipids, and proteins and amino acids, micronutrients, and glucose. So what aids brain function? I know omega-3 and 6 is the big game changer for the brain. It is critical for the brain development and function, lowering the risk of heart disease, arthritis, cellular healing, cancer prevention, weight loss, and it's anti-inflammatory. ALA, which is one of the omega-3s, it improves the digestive health, heart health, and it lowers total blood cholesterol, the LDL. Healthy fats, very important. Your brain must have healthy fats. They improve the brain and eye function, cardiovascular health, manage body weight. A lot of people think that fats put weight on, but if you're eating healthy fats, they actually help you reduce your body weight and lower your cholesterol. And they're rich in fiber and they aid in digestion. Choline, it reduces inflammation, it bolsters your brain function by enabling optimum communication between brain cells. It's high in tryptophan, which is a building block for serotonin, the happiness. So high folate foods reduce the homocysteine levels linked to the brain atrophy and risk of Alzheimer's. Okay. So we know that with our brains being attacked as much as them, we want to get ahead of brain atrophy. Okay. The polyphenols, they aid against dementia, and antioxidants improve the signaling pathways in the brain linked to inflammation, cell survival, neuro communication, and neuroplasty, which is the adaptation to change. And then citrus is really great for blood flow and to the brain, and it helps with inflammation as well and improves your cognitive function. Flavonoids, they fight inflammation and they improve that cell signaling in the brain and blood flow and enhance your memory and improve short-term brain function. So this is a lot, but these are the good things. These are the really good foods and things that you can use, and you could start today. Just take note and be cognizant of them. You want to incorporate more of these into your daily routine when possible, knowing that, TIs do struggle with funds, but just know you can only do the best that you can. But when you have the opportunity, please keep in mind these foods, because not only do they support your brain, they support your overall health and well-being. So some foods that are rich in omega-3 and 6 are salmon. I can't say it enough. Salmon is your number one go-to brain food. It is high in the good fats, and it has so many health benefits. Now, you don't want to overdo it because, salmon fish can have traces of mercury. So you don't want to be overindulging in the salmon, but I would say 3 times a week is great. You don't want to do it every day. So walnuts, flax seeds. I do flax seeds, ground flax seeds every single day. Walnuts, wonderful. Walnuts is like a superfood for the brain. Nuts and seeds in general, whole grains. Of course, salmon and the fatty fishes like tuna, sardines, lagoons, quinoa. Foods that improve your memory are going to be eggs and berries. Blueberries is another superfood. Strawberries, raspberries, blackberries. Sorry, I have a typo. Walnuts also improve your memory. Herbal teas, green tea is excellent, great choice. Coffee in moderation now. Okay, just don't be drinking pots of it. Okay, but it helps stimulate and improve your memory and concentration. Apples, especially the green, are good. And dark chocolate, again, cautionary on dark chocolate. Chocolate and can have high levels of mycotoxins in it. So you want to make sure it's a clean one. Just do your research, okay? You want to make sure at least it's 70% or higher. 80 plus is even better. Me personally, I make sure it doesn't have any sugar in it. I do like natural sweeteners like monk fruit, stevia, those type of sweeteners, because we'll learn in a few minutes that sugar is no good. Okay. Avocados are wonderful brain food and it's just more than just memory. It's a good fat. Improving concentration, lean, red meat, quinoa, fighting free radicals, the dark leafy greens like kale, spinach, collards, bok choy. I mean, there's so much there. Avocados again on the list. Dark chocolate again on the list. Red cabbage, very good. And the green tea. So you'll see a lot of crossovers here. And slowing brain disease, again, that blueberry is a superfood, antioxidant, and those avocados are there too. So what I did to kind of simplify things, I broke it down into categories based off of the types of foods and what is optimal for your brain and healing. So healthy fats, well, what are those? Raw nuts and seeds. MCT, which is a medium chain triglyceride oil. It's coconut oil. MCT8 is brain fuel. It gives you energy and sustainability throughout the day. I use it every single day in my coffee along with some collagen powder. I've seen such improvement. I wouldn't contribute it just to the MCT all, but the dietary change in general and overall. But MCT8, there is also MCT 10, and there's an MCT8 and 10 blend, but MCT8 is optimal. Again, just MCT in general, it will help. Olive oil and olives, flax seeds are healthy fat, avocado, of course, grass-fed butter and ghee, avocado or olive oil, mayonnaise. Make sure it's avocado or olive oil. Raw grass-fed organic cheese, if possible. Full-fat coconut milk, oil, butter, and coconut flakes. Coconut is just got so many great things for the brain. Full-fat milk, yogurt, or tallow. There's a lot of things said about 2%. All my research has led to the full fat is the best because, the alteration of it being a lesser low fat kind of falls into that modified, category, which for your brain, the full fat milk and yogurt and tallow is best. Canned sardines and salmon. Salmon is your go-to. There's so many ways that you can get it. You can get the canned salmon. So many things you can do with it. Starchy carbohydrate. Let's go with the high fiber carbohydrates. And I'm going to go with those first because those are low glycemic. They have little to no glucose insulin rise in it. You don't want to have too much insulin spike happening by the food that you ingest because that creates insulin resistance. That is weight loss resistance. So you want to limit that. So the high fiber, and then fiber is just great. Fiber is great for your brain. It's just great in general for your healing and well-being. So arugula, asparagus, bean sprouts, bell peppers, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, cauliflower, celery, collard greens, cucumber, green beans, radishes, snow peas, spinach, spaghetti, summer squash. The list can go on. Just research high fiber carbohydrates. Those are going to be your little to no glucose and insulin rise, which also helps those who have inflammation. Okay. So then you can get into the moderate to small starchy carbohydrates. Like I think it's the spaghetti and summer squash, but other types of squash. So, and then artichokes and pumpkin and potato, sweet potato and yams and black beans, chickpeas, pinto beans, lentils. So most of the beans fall into that, and beets, whole grains, not the processed ones. So there's a big difference there. So you want like whole grain cooked cereal, steel cut oats, buckwheat, quinoa, millet, brown rice, wild rice, non-GMO corn, low GI fruits, blackberries, raspberry, elderberries, lemons, limes, Granny Smith apples, avocados, strawberries, and blueberries. Proteins, cold water fish, eggs, the fatty fish, beef, venison, turkey, chicken, pork, bison. If you can, grass-fed and pasture-raised, will have the less toxins, okay? But knowing that a lot of TIs are on a budget, you do the best that you can. And cheese, preferably the raw or organic if possible. You want to make sure that you avoid the processed cheeses that have a bunch of additives in it. So foods that reduce the inflammation and pain, you're going to see a lot of crossover on inflammation and foods that are good for the brain. So you want to eat foods that are rich in the omega-3s and 6, like we mentioned before. And then vitamin E, those darky green leaves are wonderful in vegetables like the broccoli and zucchini. Vitamin C rich are the citrus fruits and pure juices, not with additives. And bell peppers are a great source of vitamin C. Prebiotics. So if you're having inflammation in your gut and otherwise, you want to make sure that, you add in some more onion, asparagus, garlic, sweet potatoes, legumes, whole grains, and fermented foods. I didn't realize, but fermented foods are just such a great source of probiotics to your gut. So fermented, like the cabbage, sauerkraut. I had a blank moment. Sauerkraut, kimchi, those are those fermented foods. Anti-inflammatory spices like turmeric and cinnamon and rosemary and garlic, oregano, rosemary and cayenne, those are all anti-inflammatory. And teas, the green, black, and white teas, ginger is so great for inflammation and especially digestive issues. Chamomile reduces that inflammation. Chamomile is so good to have at bedtime. It kind of helps you relax too, but you can have it during the day. Antioxidants like blueberries and the dark chocolate and the broccoli, carrots, kale, spinach, sweet potatoes, and Brazil nuts and sunflower seeds and tart cherries. Those are really good. And the healthy oils again, the olive oil reduces arthritis, inflammation, and avocado oil. Very, very good. So what's on the naughty list? So the very first thing that I want to say about food, it's very important to read the labels of your food. If the labels have a lot of ingredients you can't pronounce and do not recognize, just avoid it. Try to stick to clean whole foods as much as possible, or those that are limited to a few, clean ingredients. So the bad list, the number one is going to be sugar. And me personally, I never thought that I would be able to give that up, to be quite honest. But I did. I have been doing, first I did a cellular healing diet, and I went from intermediate to advanced, and then I went into keto with intermittent fasting. So with keto, there's, you can't have sugar in any of those. And I didn't realize that sugar is like a drug to your body. It will put you through withdrawal and detox symptoms with headaches, shakes, mood swings, and gastrointestinal issues. I also learned that sugar, if you have candida, or however you say that, it is like a fungus within your body. And that fungus thrives on sugar. So for me personally, I went through a detox to rid my body of Candida, and I went through those symptoms, but then I also went into after that, that purging event and detox into the advanced cellular and the keto, and it was more seamless. But sugar, to me, it is the root of evil of a lot of chronic health conditions, which not only just weight gain and obesity, but diabetes, tooth decay, and it's like a carcinogen. It increased risk of cancer and chronic fatigue, ADD, ADHD, heart disease, lower immunity. A third of sugar consumption comes from soda or sugary drinks. 2/3 consumption is from hidden resources such as lunch meats. These are going to be those processed pizza, sauces, bread, soups, crackers, fruit drinks, canned food, yogurt, ketchup, mayonnaise. You just have to be very, very aware and look at that ingredient list. And then you're going to see little sugar, popping up on a lot of things. In the food plans that I've tried out, I had to be cognizant and look at this. Otherwise, I was just defeating the cause, which is to heal my body. Processed meats, those are modified to improve the taste and extend shelf life. So if you see something that has an extended shelf life of several years, then more than likely there's some kind of chemicals in there that are contributing it to have that long shelf life. And most of those are neurotoxins and cancer-causing chemicals. And they're high in sodium and nitrates, which are harmful to your health, and they increase cardiovascular disease and diabetes and, of course, those cancer-causing chemicals. Bacon, hot dogs, and cold cuts. Just take a look at some of the ingredients on that, and you'll see how many are in there. Saturated fats like chips and French fries, donuts, fast food, all those yummy things, deep fried and unhealthy oils. They have high sodium and high calories and saturated fats. They increase, heart disease and obesity and chronic health conditions. And processed grains, the white bread, rice and pasta, these contain refined flour, which can be stripped of its fiber and nutrients during processing, can lead to rapid spikes in the blood sugar and contribute to weight gain and insulin resistance and other metabolic issues. They often have toxic additives, which increase the risk of cognitive issues and brain abnormalities. Bad fats include the hydrogenated and partially hydrogenated oils and trans fats and rancid vegetable oils. And they link to cellular congestion, leading to cancer, chronic fatigue, and neurotoxic syndrome, and chronic inflammation. And we'll get to the seed oils in just in number 7. So number 6, GMOs. So GMOs is ultra-processed foods. They contain organisms whose DNA has been altered to improve their characteristics for faster growth, lower environmental resource use, drought resistant, altered and improved appearance. So the rule of thumb is, if it isn't how God made it, then avoid it. Okay. Seed oils, I did not know this until I went out on this journey for healing, that canola and vegetable and safflower, corn, and those type of seed oils, they promote the inflammation. But if there were 2 oils that I would say just stop today, it would be the canola and the vegetable, because those are the worst in your body for inflammation and cellular congestion. Artificial sweeteners it's just, they're hard on the kidneys. They have harmful toxins in them that cause cancer, and they are neurodisruptors. So they wreak havoc on your nervous system. The cereal bars that have highly processed grains, additives, sugar, and high gluten seed oil. Again, look at those hidden ingredients on some of those bars. You're going to find sugar in there. You're going to find those seed oils in there. A lot of them have canola in them. They're just, and again, a lot of them have genetically modified grains and ingredients in that as well. So these are kind of the no-nos that you would want to avoid. And I can proclaim and attest to that you can have really wonderful, good tasting things without this. And you can do it within a budget too. You just have to be very mindful. And things that you could do is plan out your week ahead on what you're going to eat. Instead of taking the money that you were going to use to eat out for fast food, something that was convenient, maybe just start out and, make up some food that'll last you a couple of days and that is more healthier for you. So this next slide is on swap outs. So you can swap the soda sugary drinks for water, like sparkling mineral fruit infused. Like you can take your water and put fruit in it, to put some strawberries, raspberries, even cucumber, put a dash of, cinnamon in there, some ginger, all of these good herbs that help with inflammation too. You could swap it out for herbal teas. You could swap out those processed meats for lean protein like chicken, turkey, fish, and beef. You can swap out that white bread and white rice for whole grain bread, white bread for whole grain bread. But make sure you read that label because a lot of it has sugar in it. Okay. I know that a clean bread that I've used before, I started making my own, is Ezekiel bread. You won't find any sugar in there, and it's the ancient grains, which are really good, and whole grains. You could swap out those French fries and chips for oven baked sweet potato. Me personally, I like to cut up zucchini and squash and put a little bit of Italian seasoning and some pepper. You can put some olive oil on it and just throw them in the oven or an air fryer, and they're absolutely delicious. And it's like I didn't know what I was missing. You could swap out fast food burgers for a salmon burger. You could swap out white flour for almond and coconut flour. You could swap out sugar for applesauce, monk fruit, stevia, and honey. You could swap out canola and vegetable oil for olive, avocado, and coconut oil. Those three oils right there are wonderful to cook in. Just depending on the heat that you're using, just research those and see which one's the best for what you're cooking. Some are better for high heat versus others, but olive oil just is like my go-to. All three of them actually, but coconut oil is really good for baking also. So swap out your processed cheese for feta, mozzarella, ricotta, goat, cheddar. Just avoid those processed cheese. If you look on the back of the cheese packet and it has all these things that you don't know what it is, then you know that is processed cheese. You can also swap out chips for roasted chickpeas and seaweed crisp, cassava, like the Zaete brand of chips is cassava chips and almond flour chips. You could swap out processed snack food like crackers, cookies, pretzels for nuts, seeds, fresh fruit, vegetables with hummus. You could swap out pasta for baked shredded spaghetti squash. Again, that was one I didn't know I was missing. I like to put a little bit of garlic powder and some salt and pepper. That's all it needs. It really is got a great taste on its own. So food plans that can kind of help you navigate into the healthier eating. There's a lot of crossover with the ones that I've got listed here, but they all promote brain health and low inflammation. So the Mediterranean or the anti-inflammatory food plan is rich in fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and healthy fats and fish. And it links to improved brain health and lower blood pressure and cholesterol and allergies. It reduces the risk for chronic disease like cardiovascular, some cancers, diabetes prevention and control. So if you do have type 2 diabetes, this is a good nutritional plan to follow. It also helps with mitigating Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, MS, these type of inflammatory autoimmune diseases. Ketogenic keto, the one that I do more clean keto. You can research that, but it is more high good fats, low carbohydrates, and adequate protein. So some people have a misconception about keto that you can just eat all the meat and cheese that you want. No, that's kind of dirty keto. I do more clean. So like adequate protein, like a serving size would be like 4 ounces. And so it has positive effect on brain and organs and therapeutic benefits for neurological problems by effectively controlling the balance between pro-excitatory and inhibitory neurotransmitters and modulating inflammation or changing the composition of the gut microbiome. Enhances the ketogenesis, which is the nutritional ketose used for using fat for fuel versus carbohydrates, and feeling more energetic and less hungry. So, since I've been doing this for 3 months, I have noticed that my food cravings, I used to be one that kind of crashed in the afternoon and was trying to reach for something sugary to jolt it back up, only to crash down even further. I noticed that I am even throughout the day, that eating in the keto style with the high fast, I'm putting my MCT8 oil in my coffee with my collagen. I'm having grass fed, butter, yes, and I love Kerrygold butter. And then I have my, keto friendly bread that I bake, and I put my butter on it. I have some eggs, and I could go really long hours without even thinking about food. And then I have my dinner. But I also incorporate intermittent fasting, which I can do a podcast on that as well, and you could research it on your own. If you use intermittent fasting with one of these diet plans, then you are really kickstarting and promoting your healing, because the intermittent fasting, I'll just give you a brief rundown of it. Typically, what I do is I do 3 days that are around 12 to 14 hours, without food. And then I go into 2 days of at least 14 to 16 hours without food, and then an escalated one around the 16 to 18 hours, 24 hours. I've done that before too, and I felt great, because these hours without food is giving your body a chance to, rest and fight the other battles going on, getting rid of toxins and regenerating those cells, and just research it. And again, I could do a podcast on it. So for me personally with keto, I have eliminated sugar and I don't even think about it. Which, if you would have asked me that a year ago, I would have told you were insane, because that's just how much I had a sweet tooth. And but I have been able to find keto friendly little snacks, and I really don't, do much of that. I have it as a reward like once a day, and it consists of coconut flakes, some cacao powder, which is the cocoa cacao powder, and a little bit of butter, and some nut butter. Then the one that I use is called Nutso, and you mix it all together. You put it in the freezer, and it's just a wonderful little oh, I forgot. And a couple of drops of monk fruit. And monk fruit is natural, so you're not going to have that spike of sugar, but it gives you a little bit of that sweetness. It is just amazing. And it satisfies my chocolate, craving, and it's healthy, and it is good for your brain. So it has all the things in it that are good for your brain. I have noticed increased energy. I have noticed better concentration. I have been able to think at a more elevated level, like what I was used to before all of these attacks happened. I'm telling you, it has been a game changer. And the biggest thing I think that really assisted me, not only was it going from reaching for carbs and sugar, but the fat and the fuel. And with the keto, I did drop weight as well, but it wasn't so much about that for me, but it's more about how I feel and having that sustainable energy and that clearness in your thought while being under these attacks. This is why I would never bring anything to you that I haven't tried out myself. So I wanted to make sure I shared this information with you. Another good diet for your brain and any kind of neurological disorder is what they call the Mito plan, which is a mitochondrial diet, which is anti-inflammatory, low glycemic, gluten-free, low grain, high quality fats again, and clean proteins. It supports healthy mitochondria through the use of therapeutic foods that improve energy production, restore vitality and health and aging. And mitochondria are structures in the cell that make energy by using the oxygen and are needed by brain and organs and cellular survival. Damaged mitochondria can lead to inflammation and pain, with increased risk of developing neurological conditions like Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, MS, Lou Gehrig's, ALS, and it prevents the chronic neurological disease by choosing food that enhances the mitochondrial function, fat burning, muscle enhancement, healthy food sugar balance can be achieved with the right quantities of proteins, fats, and carbohydrates, and increased levels of BDNR production, which is the first line of defense against neurological diseases, combined with the intermittent fasting and calorie restriction, turns on the genes that help the cell survive by reducing inflammation. So mito and keto are very, very similar. Um, I am one that has suffered from chronic migraines. More so, it began in my 20s. Less so these days, other than when I'm having the attacks. But my neurologist actually is the one who recommended that mito plan, and of course keto. A lot of these, like I said, that are listed here, there is high crossover. So there's a common thread in all of them, which is stay away from the bad list, incorporate in those good fats and those lean proteins, not overdoing it. Again, all of this has common thread, and it's you just research which one you feel more that you resonate with, and then that can be your guideline, and that can help you plan out your food for the week and your shopping list. um, Cellular healing diet, there's 3 plans. There's the basic, intermediate, and advanced. I have done the intermediate and the advanced, and then I went into keto with intermittent fasting. So that is no sugars again, grains limited, depending on what level you are. The grains are not part of the advanced. Uh, Limited fruits, like advanced, no fruits, but in moderation. You don't want to overdo it. Those berries that I listed in a previous slide are going to be the lowest glycemic ones. So those would be the go-tos, which are really good for your brain. So this diet helps put in the healthy fats again, and eating protein and the anti-inflammatory and the detoxification to heal the cellular membrane, that hardened membrane that can occur that won't let the good in or the bad out. Hormone regulation, and good for those with inflammatory conditions, heart disease, arthritis, chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, IBS, autoimmune disease, thyroid. If you have high triglycerides or cholesterol, high blood pressure, elevated glucose, insulin, leptin, neurotoxicity, and weight loss resistance, cellular healing is good. So I do have some links here for food plans and information and downloads. So I will leave those up. And again, you can refer back to the podcast and grab onto these links. The Mediterranean, or the anti-inflammatory diet, again, which is plant-based foods, healthy fats, oils, vinegars, vegetables, nuts, seeds, herbs, spices, beans, legumes, and cheese. The keto, which is, it focuses on whole foods, low carbs, and high quality fats. There's a shopping list for that, and good information on the Mediterranean and anti-inflammatory too. There is a PDF and a diet food list that you can download. The mitochondrial diet, which is the mito diet, which is low inflammation, low glycemic, high quality fats. There is a great guide, and it also has some recipes in it. The cellular healing diet, that was adopted, and there's a book on it by Dr. Daniel Pompa. and that is there's a link there for that. It also includes like a 1 week meal plan, a shopping list. So it's great information. And again, you'll find there's a common thread in them all. Just avoid those bad foods that promote the um, dysfunction in the body and disease and inflammation and chronic health conditions. Just avoid those. You can start small and, go bigger. So if you want some flexibility in dipping your toe into the water, I would say the cellular healing, because it has 3 levels, and then you can branch out. And that's what I did. I went into cellular healing, then I went into keto, and the internet is flooded with recipes for keto, and they're really, really great. So, as always, I really value your feedback and what content you would like me to cover in future episodes of The Chosen Heroes. And I would love for you to share your success story with me of how you've triumphed over the harassment by sharing your techniques that you've used and knowledge that you've gained with our community. I would love to have people as a guest that would like to appear on The Chosen Heroes. And I am excited to say that I do have a guest for next week. And he is the creator of the Silent Night, which is a device that has created to neutralize your energy field against attacks. So please don't miss next week's episode. It's going to be a great one. And if you would, please, as always, subscribe, follow, like, and share. Chosen Heroes is on X and Rumble. Email is chosen_heroes@proton.me. That goes directly to me, and I will respond. I have a YouTube channel for The Chosen Heroes and a Facebook group and Facebook page as well. And don't forget, the Targeted Justice has lots of social media access through Truth Social. Their email is targeted tjustice2@proton.me. They're on the web at targetedjustice.com. They're on local, Substack, Rumble, YouTube, and X, and LinkedIn. All right. Go back and see what all the questions have been for today. When I'm presenting the slides, I can't see the comments, so I have to go back at the end and take a look. Juice, you finally caught me. Good. I'm so glad that you joined today. Cool breeze, Tony. Thank you. You always have great comments. Thank you so much. Yes, and I'm grateful for you, and we are the chosen ones. Oh, thank you, Town Crier. Remember to hit the like button. I appreciate that. Yes, thank you for your support. Yes, lots of support between the community here. It's so good to see these uplifting comments supporting everyone. Here's one. Town Crier asks, is there some medicine that nausea pills for seasickness, and can you get them over the counter and everything? They hit me with radiation. My hair is falling out. They have tumbled under my house. Well, what I can speak to on terms of the nausea, ginger, if you can incorporate ginger and in like an herbal tea of ginger, it really does help with the nausea. There is some over-the-counter stuff too, but I try to with the more natural. Turmeric helps me as well, but that's good for inflammation. I would say with the when feeling that, disruptive gastrointestinal issues too, like I said, the fermented foods are really good as well. I've had an issue also with the hair loss at the top of my head here. Um, I know that castor oil and rosemary oil are very good for that. And you can Google, natural remedies for hair loss, and you will find some as well. I've tried several things, and again, it can be from the nutrient deficiency of being attacked. I think that has a lot to do with it. Hi, Andrea. Yes, sushi with salmon and tuna. That's a great choice. Great choice for your brain. I just love the support between the community and helping each other out. There's so many messages back and forth. This is so encouraging and amazing. This is what I love so much about the community. Andrea also says water with peppermint and lemon. Yes, I love lemon water and lime water. It really does help cut inflammation, and it's so good for you. Here's one. I want to buy a water pillow. I have heard that some TIs do benefit from the water pillow. I have not had an opportunity to buy one myself. I just recently got a grounding pillow case that I will test out. I have been using the bed sheet, and I did notice that it does help me with sleep. So when I saw that there was one for a pillowcase, then I was like, okay, let me try this out and see if that gives even more benefit. So be sure that I will let you know how that goes. I understand. Yes, here's one. How are we supposed to eat well when I can't keep food in my home? Otherwise, they break in and put stuff in my food. It makes me sick while I work. I know it is a challenge. Let's see. Is it possible for you to buy something and maybe take it with you and then just limit? It's going to cause you to have to do shopping like every day. But if that's an issue with you, you might want to, have you tried maybe an inexpensive camera, um, and to try to see if you can catch anybody entering and maybe securing your doors and such. I know that Targeted Justice had an article recently on how to secure your home and environment. So you might want to look on Substack and get some tips for that. Yes, lots of community support here. Love it. This is awesome. Thank you so much. A lot of the comments was to support back and forth conversations uh, between our community, which is so awesome. And what I want to encourage you to do is to continue doing this and to reach out to others, not only on this platform, but in other chat feeds on social media where we're spreading awareness. The biggest thing that you can do is to share the information and the knowledge with others that are, going through this and may not know that there is the targeted programs, and they're trying to make sense out of it all. And then by you simply sharing it out on your social media, then you have reached somebody who didn't know and then gave them validation and will help uplift them out from feeling unacknowledged and powerless. Our greatest gift is to share the knowledge. And when Targeted Justice posts their articles, I make sure that I share on my platforms as well as when I'm finding really good content that has been posted out by other TIs. I can tell you, as I always say, there are more and more people coming forward. And with that, we know that there is an end coming. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. And so, I urge every one of you to do, if you don't mind, and you feel that you've had value from the content in my podcast, is to share the links on your social media just to gain greater awareness for the community. As one of these videos might help somebody in need and give them the support and motivation that they didn't have and they were seeking while under heavy attack. As always, I love each and every one of you, and God bless you, and I continue to pray for you all. Thank you so, so much for joining me today, and I look forward to speaking to you next week. God bless.